today about your paper 6.6 we will discuss about the composition and direction of India's foreign trade before and after liberalization. Now mostly uh, questions on this topic come for 10 marks. Okay, so we have to see before liberalization and after liberalization. I am going to discuss in brief about this. Uh, what is the India's foreign trade and what is the role of India's foreign trade in economic development? Now, the role of India's foreign trade in economic development is very significant. The volume and composition of foreign trade have undergone far-reaching changes in the post-independence period. The value and volume of foreign trade in the post-independence period has been increasing constantly and rapidly, particularly from 1965 to 66. You note down this that foreign trade is increasing from 1965 to 68. And there has been a huge increase in imports, which reflects that there is a considerable extent that large imports of machinery and capital equipment, particularly for the development of basic and key industries. Now, just after independence, at that time you see in 1965-66, India was on the path of industrialization. So India had to import a lot of say capital equipment, machinery to set up large industries for economic development. Now India thought that it must be careful so that it does not face a crisis. So it had to not only give importance to imports, but it had to give importance to exports also, because in a foreign trade exports is important. Imports are important, but an economy must increase its exports. The value of India's exports, if we look over the past 60 years, has been rising and this is quite a encouraging point. Now let us divide this discussion into the import sector and as well as the export sector. So firstly we come to the import sector. Regarding the import sector, the first area of that we must give importance to is the import of petroleum, oil and lubricants, which exceeds rupees 10,000 crores per annum. You see the amount, rupees 10,000 crores per annum is a very large amount. And India needs what? India needs a well thought out plan for conservation of energy and interfuel substitution to save the economy from this difficult position and steer clear of this foreign exchange burden. You see, often what happens in the last few years, always we hear what? That the prices of petrol and diesel are increasing. It's increasing and sometimes it's decreasing. That is, it is always fluctuating. And some years back, the prices of say just 2 years back, the prices of petrol and diesel increased a lot. So everybody, the topic was that, oh, the price of petrol has increased, the price of diesel has increased. It was in this way. Now regarding the import sector, is another point that we must be concerned is this is after the period of liberalization that we have to import huge amount of fertilizers and iron and steel. So fertilizers and iron and steel are another important, it is also very important for the economy. Then imports of capital goods also exceeds rupees 16,000 crores per annum, which mainly consists of items which can be produced within the country competitively but are imported because they are available under external aid programs, and the others are imported due to the incorrect and faulty focus of our industrial development programs. So this means what? That some goods can be produced at home. Some of the goods can be produced at home, that is in India, but due to certain policies, certain lacks in our in the economy, we are always importing them, and we are bearing a huge cost. Again, under liberalization, that is from 1990 onwards, the multinational companies or the MNCs have started producing items like cosmetics, soft drinks, elitist consumer goods, all this say electronic equipments, so that involve the import of capital goods and also importing raw materials and components on a continuing basis. So actually now the trend in the economy is that we are always going on for elitist consumer goods, that is high priced consumer goods. So whatever goods we want to use, we want to show off that this is our mobile and my mobile costs so much. My mobile is say 25,000, 30,000, and it's made in France. Then I am wearing a watch, wristwatch, and that wristwatch is also very expensive. All this, no? So it is a burden on the economy. Then let us come to the export sector. Now, as a part of the long-term globalization of our economy, steps were initiated to phase out the excessive and indiscriminate protection given to industry, which has weakened the incentive to develop a vibrant export sector. So, in the sense, this certain sectors were given so much protection, so it could not grow. The EXIM policy has been reviewed and revised many times from 1992, but to meet the ends of import substitution and export promotion. EXIM policy, okay, EXIM, EXIM policy. So you listen, EXIM policy means export import policy, okay. Now EXIM policy is mainly what? Export promotion, that means increase the exports, and import substitution, that is lessen, you just lessen the decrease the amount of imports and you produce such goods at your own country. So the highest rate of growth in these recent years in the liberalization period has been attained by the three sectors mainly. Number one, garments, ready-made garments. Number two, leather and leather products, and gems and jewelry, which are labor intensive as well. So in India there is a what we can say, there is a sea of ready-made garments. Whatever garments we require, everything is ready-made in India, and leather products are also available in the market, and gems and jewelry are also available, and all these are, it is important to note that all these are labor intensive products, okay. Then likewise, the exports of engineering goods, computers, computer softwares, chemicals and allied products also have increased significantly in recent years. The exports of engineering goods, softwares, chemicals, and allied products have increased. That means India is producing these goods, no? India is producing these goods and we are able to increase our exports. But one significant thing that you must note is that we are an agricultural country. India is an agricultural country. It is agricultural based country, but exports of agricultural items are very low. Isn't this a very tragic thing to note that we are a agricultural country but we hardly export any agricultural items? So there has been considerable, say, trials and many reforms to make a progress in this field. Now, another field that requires urgent attention and a well planned policy is the tourism sector. So important, this tourism sector is very important because tourism earns a lot of foreign exchange for India. Okay, now from to aim with the aim of boosting tourism, that means to increase tourism, government in its budgetary policy for 2014-15 announced an allocation of rupees 500 crores for creation of 5 tourist circuits with specific themes. So all this is given, no? This is the tourism policy. Then the government has also set up special economic zones, SEZ. So these special economic zones are set up to each zone has to give importance on certain items. So some zones involve have SEZ are in some states, and in these states importance is given to some gems and jewelry, some agrochemicals, certain biochemical biotechnology, leather and leather goods, etc. Then and India's another thing, India's traditional items are also a very huge demand in the world because India has some ethnic traditional goods. So these goods are have a market in the world economy. Then uh, then you see the export import policy freed all imports of QRs, but there were adequate safeguards in the place. So imports were given a free time. Okay, imports were given free. Then the QR free import regime does however exert competitive pressure on domestic producers and to that extent should help domestic prices under check and encourage efficiency in the economy. Now uh, now you see we come to the conclusion part, that is the country, that is India, presently needs to give importance to three things to succeed and survive in the competitive international trade area. Okay, three paradigm shifts to succeed in the competitive international trade area. So this shift should be from earning dollars to creating more jobs, providing more incentives to creating infrastructure and concession to competitiveness. The policy would spur up. Spur up means to increase exports, promote manufacturing base, help create new job opportunities for both skilled and unskilled force of the country, and will decelerate, that that means it will decrease the gap between imports and exports. Okay, now there was an agreement signed at the BRICS summit in New Delhi in March 2012, and and it was aimed at enhancing trade among the member countries in the coming years. Okay. Now here this is about a discussion. Okay, this is about a discussion, and I am giving you I'll be giving you the whatever portions that you must write down in your answer. You listen to this carefully, and whatever I have said you write it down. I'll be giving you, and all this is from the book. This is I have given you from the book Economics of Development and Planning by Taneja and Meyer. Okay, from there you write down. Now another short question you just write down, that is, what is BRICS? What is BRICS? So these are objective questions. BRICS. Okay. BRICS. BRICS. So BRICS means Brazil. Write down Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. So this is one short question. BRICS. Don't forget. Don't forget it. Okay. Now this is by this I end my class, and if you have any questions you may contact me. Okay.